What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. Wow. Listen, I want to say something before we kick off this video, yeah? All you AJ super fans out there, you might need to understand. I know you think that I don't know anything. I know you think that I'm whatever. Whatever I say is because I genuinely care. And most importantly, I care about the sport of boxing. And I see so much potential. Oh, YB, you stay sucking AJ off. Call it what you want. The fact of the matter is, this is our... You know how we look back and we say things like, oh, imagine if Mike Tyson could have done this. Imagine if Mike Tyson could have done that. Imagine if Cuss had lived. Imagine this. Imagine Prime Tyson. Imagine if Tyson had carried on his progression from 19 through to 29. Oh, you know what I mean? You know how we do that with Tyson? Now, I'm not saying AJ is the phenom that Tyson was at 19, but it's all relative. Whatever way you want to cut it, yeah? I don't want to be sitting here saying the same things 15 years from now. Oh, imagine if AJ had done this, had done that. Because I'm sorry, that's what we're looking at right now. The way AJ's current trajectory, in terms of trajectory, in terms of where he's going, skills-wise, is nowhere fast. It's going backwards, truth be known. That's what the evidence shows, not my bias. And you know what? My bias. I'm an AJ supporter. What are you talking about? I'm sick of talking about, oh, YB's a hater. What are you talking about? I want the best. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and shill for something when I see blatant holes. Oh, YB, he's won loads of belts. What, in this current era, you're having a laugh? This is the weakest era yet. Seriously. Apart from the Klitschko era, which was the weakest, this is the next weak thing. Next weakest thing. Let's not make out that AJ's dominating and it's packed full of serious dudes. 90% are old. Vlad was old. Vitali didn't even get to touch him. Vlad was old. Vitali didn't get touched. Pulev old. Povetkin, and again, this isn't AJ's fault. He wants Wilder. He wants Fury. But I'm just telling you what it is. Please don't sit there and say, oh, but YB, he's undisputed. Undisputed in this crap era don't mean nothing. And for me, it's never been about the belts. Or about the money. Oh, YB, he's worth 50 million. He's worth 100 million. Oh, YB's got 4 belts. I'm not interested in the outcomes. I'm interested in, personally speaking. Some people are. Don't get me wrong. If you sit there stroking yourself off at night over how many belts he's got and how much money he's got, that's good for you. Me personally, as a boxing fan, first, I want to watch and enjoy the performances. The beauty of the sport as such. That's what comes first for me, not counting another man's pockets or looking at another man's belts I'm never going to look at. Me, I'd rather AJ have no belts and do things to the best of his ability, if that makes sense. I'd rather see AJ get beat, yeah, by a man better than him, but him doing the right things, than see AJ dominate doing things sloppy, if that makes sense. I'm not in it just for the, oh well, who cares how he gets there, let's just get the W. No. And the worst thing is about that whole process, that way of thinking is it's a low performance way of thinking. Oh, let's just get the W. Because before you know it, when you're not striving for perfection, just get the W ends up like Tyron Woodley, tired and washed. Like John Jones, just hanging on for dear life. These guys, and I'm not being funny, I called it the champion's curse. These guys, they come up, all of them, Woodley, John Jones, completely ferocious. Get to the top, and they stagnate at best. Can't get a stoppage for love nor money. All that excitement gone. And that's what made Mike Tyson so intriguing. He was able to, and even he fell off in the end, but you know what I'm saying, but initially, he was always relatively loyal to himself. Even though again, Mike Tyson, how many times have we sat there and said, oh, he plateaued, which he did. When Cuss was gone and he left Rooney and left Teddy Atlas, he didn't make no gains. He went backwards. Fact. Now, let's get to today's video. I just wanted to make that stuff clear. Because the things I say, what we do know is, What I say is 100% facts. You dudes who say, I don't know boxing, you don't know boxing. And if you think you do, you don't. How about that? You don't. I do. Simple. And the thing is, what I love the most about what the things I say, when I make points, yeah, people sit there and they throw ad hom attacks. Oh, YB don't know this. But you might never critique what I'm saying. Oops. Don't be saying I don't know. Just tell me how scientifically what I'm saying is wrong. How about that? Tell me how AJ missing massive shots and loading up with big one-offs and getting clapped in the face. I had goofies telling me the other day, oh, YB, yes, AJ got clapped in the face, got countered when he was loading up a massive right hand that he was about to miss. But it's boxing. Everyone gets hit. Huh? Oh, so because... Is that the answer for things now then? Okay. Do things sloppy, yeah? And when you get rocked, just say, well, it's boxing. It's a shame. Well, it's boxing. Didn't work out in the Ruiz fight, did it? Well, it's boxing. Where was all that in the Ruiz fight? Who was it? Well, it's boxing, don't cut it. At this level. And with the gifts AJ has. Oh, YB, you can find everyone misses shots in boxing. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And I've never seen Lennox Lewis in one round have a static opponent who's been hurt and he load up so much in the centre of the ring and he missed by miles. I've never seen that. Throwing singles, missing singles. I've seen people in the middle of combinations missing shots. Never have I seen someone load up in the space of 30 seconds, miss 3 singles and get countered in between one of them. Never, I haven't seen that, I'm sorry. That's unique to AJ. I hate to break it to you. And you've got to remember as well, these guys weren't fighting this caliber of opponent. That's another thing. Pulev, he wouldn't have been top 30 back in them times. And I put to you that AJ, in my opinion, is the same quality of athlete as them Holyfields and Lennoxes and Mike Tysons. Where he's not lining up so far is the technique and some of the, I'm not sure what you'd call it, just the technique and the schooling is where it's gone wrong. Which isn't a big mystery, to be fair. We know. We don't have them old school Emmanuel Stewarts and them guys there. Dundee. And we don't have them kind of old school real boxing people. We've got the Ben Davidsons. Super duper fruities. We've got the Mccrappens. Who don't have a clue what they're doing. They're like Rob Mccrappen was a PE teacher. 100%. That's where he came from. Rob Mccrappen was teaching GCSE boxing. And then, don't know what happened, he must have known someone or whatever, and he ended up where he was. Because what we know is, he didn't know a lick about boxing. That's what you don't know. Rob Mccrappen has GCSE level boxing IQ. That's what we do, that's a fact, 100%. Because Rob Mccrappen has had AJ to himself for the last 3 years, and all AJ's done is regress. When Tony Sims was with AJ, there was consistency. It wasn't perfect, but he was consistent and dangerous. Never once in any of them performances was he scary. Even when he was in the thick of it with Vlad. Under Tony Sims, he was on his job. Tony Sims left for whatever reason. I'm not going to debate the politics, but politics aside, the skills have gone wayward. Now, again, let's move on to today's video then. So, bear in mind, I've done quite a few videos on this topic recently. It's quite ironic. It almost feels like, I don't know, maybe AJ's trolling me. I'm not trying to make out that everyone watches my channel. They do, but one more time. It's almost like I'm being trolled here because I've just put out videos talking about sloppy technique and sloppy defense. And next thing we know, AJ's put a video out, a picture out, and he's jabbing someone, and his backhand is literally by his waist. Now, I'm sure there'll be people will say things like, YB, you don't see all the training. YB, he's training to be loosey-goosey. What is this fascination? And I have to tell you this again. Guess when this fascination with dropping his hands came in to fashion? It came into fashion when Tony Sims left. When AJ fought Parker, and all of his fights before that, his hands was in tight. Parker left. He left. Tony Sims left, and all of the discipline left. Ever since, he's been trying to be this new fruity fighter. And that came around, or that pinnacled against Andy Ruiz. That low hand, and he was just getting clattered. I've done analysis videos on it already. In person, showing you, man, some of the mistakes he was making. Look at this. Not only is his backhand by his waist, he's got his chin in the air. I don't know what to say. And I'll tell a lie, I do know what I need to say, because we've seen the kind of videos. This picture here says 1,000 words, because I've showed you, man, videos of leaked sparring footage from AJ, and we've seen some of the sparring he's been doing. He's been in there sparring with 200-pound men, and AJ's been getting walked down by them, man. AJ's been dancing around. So again, when I say this picture shows 1,000 words, what this picture shows is AJ's planning on going in there with low hands and dancing around. Because one thing low hands does, it enables you to move your feet quicker. When you got your hands up, it's a lot heavier to carry. It's a lot slower. Low hands, it's a lot easier to move. That said, it's not an offensive position. You don't see people walking forward with their hands down for obvious reasons. But the best aggressive fighters, Golovkin, Canelo, Mike Tyson, whoever you want, it's an aggressive stance. It's a I'm coming for trouble stance. Chin down, elbows in. AJ historically that's how he built his career on that style. For some reason, I'm not sure what it is. Rob Mccrappen most likely. That's his main influence right now. Yeah? You got Fernando Alonso, some Muppet, and he got a few other Muppet trainers. AJ's whole team's full of Muppets, but for the main, Fernando Alonso and Rob Mccrappen. They're where it's coming from. And it's just bad. He's going in there with a cruiserweight, and AJ's trying to outbox a cruiserweight who's known to be somewhat tricky. And that's what gets me most frustrated, yeah. I've heard AJ saying, oh yeah, I could just walk Usyk down, but, Usyk's known as a really great boxer, and I want to outbox him. What is this? I think AJ started hanging around with Floyd a bit, and then he started, a few years ago, I think it was around Parker. Well, again, ever since Tony Sims left, really, AJ started falling in love with, I remember when the Parker fight went 12 rounds, he said, I wanted to prove I could box. Not one of his fans was ever asking for that. Don't get me wrong. A few fangirls jumped on the bandwagon and said, no, it's great, as they do now. Oh, no, it's great, yeah. No, AJ's boxing might be. It's great to see him box, and he's versatile. Ain't no one trying to watch him be versatile. It's a fact. No one wants to watch him be versatile. Or the fans in their masses don't anyway. Call it what you want. AJ's career has been built on casual fans. It hasn't been... AJ doesn't have a hardcore fan base. He's not Andre Ward. How AJ got to where he is isn't boxing like this. That's for Tyson Fury. Do you man not remember when it used to be AJ did, Mike Tyson versus some tall long dude? That's how the build-up was supposed to be. The hammer and the nail. That was the build-up. The whole build-up of Fury versus AJ was supposed to be, can Fury run enough? And can AJ Mike Tyson enough? That's what the narrative was. That's what people was rock hard for. Let's see how slick Fury really is in front of a demon. Now it's kinda, who knows? Now it's up in the air, in my opinion. I'd still back AJ to win, but it's up in the air nonetheless. Who knows? If AJ's running around from Usyk, then chances are he's going to be running around from Fury. Because I told you, man, before, the Pulev fight was a perfect audition for the Usyk fight, really. Because if you can't walk Pulev down, you ain't walking Usyk down. If that makes sense. Pulev's stiff, old, and no inside fighting. Usyk's much slicker, can fight on the inside, quicker. If you can't walk through Pulev, you ain't walking through Usyk. And it also follows, if you can't walk through Usyk, you ain't walking through Fury. Because Fury's bigger, probably just as quick as Usyk. Not as good on the inside, but either way, it all balances out. These are all little tests. And what we know is, AJ trained the right way would knock all three of them heads off. In back-to-back weeks. I'd put money on that. Seriously. AJ trained under Shane McGuigan. He'd run through all of them in back-to-back weeks. I'd bet money on that as well. Accumulator. He'd smoke them all. 100%. Easy work as well. None of them would make it out of 6 rounds, in my opinion. If AJ was finesse punching. Imagine, when have you really seen AJ go in there and pick shots and really dig? You know how you watch people like, well, I say it all the time, but Alvarez, Errol Spence, Josh Taylor, not so much Josh Taylor, but these big punchers who pick shots, they dig and they rip combinations. Imagine seeing AJ systematically go in there. I mean, watch the Parker fight. AJ's beautifully driving the jab forward. He ain't touching and stepping. Watch that fight back. AJ's dominating Parker with a jab. Dominating him. Parker's the one who's running around the ring scared. AJ's in there driving forward. Every single punch he throws is coming forward. Cutting the ring off. Pressuring Parker. Parker's blowing because he's running so hard. AJ's calm. Guard's pretty tight, pretty solid. Got the right hand going on the end. After a double jab. And we didn't even get to see. That for me was the start of... Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the combinations. But that's... As far as a jab and the right hand goes, as far as cutting the ring off and dominating a fight with a jab goes, that was... picture perfect. All that you'd need to add to that as a base would be the power punching. The 3-punch combinations. 2, 3, 4-punch combinations. Once you got him back to the ropes. But as we know, the referee split it up. But imagine seeing AJ, the size of him and the power of him and the explosiveness, putting consistent 3-punch combinations together. Body, head, body. We've never seen AJ putting combinations, mixing it up. Really, AJ's whole career, or a lot of his career, it's been flurry. Well, certainly more recently, it's been pure flurries. It's been just banging left, right, left, right, left, right. Never seen him mix up body and head. And it's dangerous, especially with a lot of these fighters. Even Fury to an extent, but Deontay Wilder, Pulev, watch them fights back, technically speaking. Watch what they do when you put pressure on them. When Pulev had pressure on him, his earmuffs went on and his elbows were in the air. Why is that relevant? His whole midsection was wide open. I was screaming. When AJ was rattling them uppercuts off you, I was saying, put one to the body. If AJ had dug one of them big uppercuts to the body, Pulev would have been folded like a deck chair. 100%. AJ didn't throw one power shot to the body. I had one goofy in my comment section. Oh, Obi, what are you talking about? AJ didn't punch to the body against Pulev. Didn't you see all them jabs? What, the ones where he touches and steps out? You fool. What's wrong with you? They ain't scoring no points. They ain't folding no one. Touchy jab. Get serious. And like I said, ain't no one trying to watch no touchy jab. Show me where you put a power punch to the body. Oops. And again, you're supposed to be training and using your IQ here. If you know, under pressure, and I've been saying this for years. We know certain fighters, Deontay Wilder, Pulev, and they're under pressure, they put their earmuffs on. What's your team doing? Why haven't your team seen that and said, you know what? We're going to jab and then whip a right hook to the body. Or right uppercut to the body. We're going to feint, jab, whip to the body. I don't know, do something creative. Exploiting people's habits. If your opponent's habit is to wrap up and have their elbows in the air, it's got to go to the body. Oh, we don't get to see any of that. We get to see headhunting. And then 5 rounds of nothing. And now we're going into the Usyk fight and we see this kind of stuff. Just loosey-goosey and low hands and chin in the air and accident waiting to happen. Look, I'm not being funny. No, pause, but no homo thing, but look at them legs. I'm sorry, yeah. I've already said it before, but AJ is a super athlete. He can. And I said, to be fair, I said this before AJ even started doing it. I said that AJ can outbox or box with Tyson Fury. I'm under no illusion of that. Why? Because he's that special kind of athlete. Yeah, he's got them combo genetics where he can adapt to anything essentially. That said, adapting to anything still isn't his class, if that makes sense. His class is, or should be, a boxer puncher, not an outboxer, which is how he's trying to be right now. He's trying to be an outboxer with low hands and a jab in and step in. That's not his class. In 2021 and the weak division, yeah, he can get away with it. Yeah, he can win loads of fights with it. That's still not his optimal though. That's still not going to be legacy defining. And no one trying to watch. You go 12 rounds of Fury and 12 rounds of Usyk. These guys ain't good enough, in my opinion. They're not good enough to go 12 rounds with AJ. Same as Ruiz. He wasn't good enough to go 12 rounds. When you look back at history, yeah, and you think about the all-time greats, yeah, bearing in mind, categorically, 2021 and this era is weak. If you want to be seen in a line with them, man, the people who are the true all-time greats, go in the distance with Ruiz. Don't cut it. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And AJ is good enough. I actually believed at one point, and I still believe to an extent, AJ trained the right way. I think he can go number 1, Hall of Fame, all time. Don't get me wrong, the clock's running out, and he ain't nowhere near, he ain't even top 10 right now. But trained the right way, I'd back that 100%. Number 1, Hall of Fame, could be. Now, he'd be lucky to be top 50, truth be known. Because going 12 rounds with Ruiz, that ain't Hall of Fame performance, is it? After he whooped you as well. 12 rounds of Fury ain't a Hall of Fame performance. Especially knowing that Deontay Wilder nearly had him out. Now, people will say, why, we haven't seen that fight yet. Listen, watch the Pulev fight. Pulev fight was touch and go. Pulev was old and useless, and it was 50-50 in there. Get serious. So anyway, listen, look at the legs. And it's funny, before the Ruiz rematch, I did videos talking about AJ's legs, and people were saying, yeah, it's that the other. Them legs are designed to be low, not on your toes. Fury, listen, the reason Fury dances around on his toes, yeah, is because he don't have no low centre of mass. He has spindly little legs, which means he can dot in and dot out. He can't bend his knees. He can't dig shots. Have you seen Fury punching? He can't punch. It's not Fury's fault though. It's a genetic limitation that the Furies have. It's been passed down from his father and his father before him. It's not his fault. And that's why I get so frustrated with AJ, because you're being blessed, but yet you're trying to be the next Fury. I don't get it. Them legs are supposed to be... You know how Alvarez moves? And when Alvarez moves forward, he almost plods, in a way. The reason he looks like he's plodding is because he's sitting down so much. You try it. When boxers want to be on their toes, yeah, you straighten your legs out. When you're trying to go for power, you want to get not super low, you're not squatting, but you want to sit down into it. That's why they say he's sitting down. AJ's legs are designed to be sitting down. He should be walking forward, looking to whip 2, 3, 4 punch combinations together from that low centre of mass. Sitting down in it, sitting in it. He don't need to be, I've said it before, he don't need to be darting in and out. Darting in and out for what? What are we darting in and out for? We tuck up. We catch shots. We move our head. We catch and counter. We bank on ourselves. Listen, if he can hit us, if he can hit my guard, I can hit his. And I'm gonna bet my shots are gonna break the guard. I'm gonna bet my shots are gonna take him out. And with the right defense, there's no reason it can't work. Look at Alvarez versus Golovkin. Both men in there, banging away. They didn't get knocked out, and they was both two massive punchers. They didn't get knocked out. They got strong defense. And they're middleweights as such. They was in there getting on it. So don't tell me it can't be done. Obviously, it can't be done with your hands by your ankles and your chin in the air. That's what they're not doing. Golovkin and Triple G they weren't doing that loosey-goosey, sloppy stuff. Chin down, elbows in. Let's get to it. And I actually argue that, pound for pound, I believe AJ is a more explosive puncher. Now, we haven't seen him really focus and finesse his shots. So, Golovkin and Alvarez may look more powerful, but they're not. In my opinion, they're really not. If you were able to condense and finesse AJ's ability. But anyway, listen, you see the pictures, loosey-goosey and giving it the whole boxer look and narrow legs and on his toes. You can actually see him on his toes there dancing around, no doubt. In there with some 200-pounder and he dancing around and jabbing and skipping and weaving. But, I mean, look at the shape. That shape ain't designed to be going 12 rounds and ain't designed to be taken all day. It's not designed to be tippling around and running around the place. Optimally, AJ is designed to seek and take out. That's the truth of it. If you want to lie to yourselves and convince yourself it's meant to be something different, then you're blind. There's a reason different people are good at different things. If we know Fury's got skinny legs and skinny arms and he's good at going 12 rounds and outboxing people, the same cannot be true for someone the shape of AJ. It's impossible. It's a paradox. How can you have someone the opposite frame and they both try and do the same thing? Explain that to me. And the worst thing is, your man Fury, he's even proven that even someone with no power, no legs, and no chin could smoke the third best guy in the division. By the way, that's how weak the division is. Yeah? A man with no power and no chin was able to smoke the number 3 guy. Which proves to you, imagine the damage, AJ would do. Imagine it. Imagine if AJ was being trained with that ferocious style. And it also shows you, man, that if a man with no chin and no power can go in there and get on it, AJ's got no excuse. And if anything, it's really an embarrassment at this point, in my opinion. It's an embarrassment that we're seeing Fury doing things that AJ should be doing. Really. If Fury could go in there with no power, no chin and walk down Wilder, how are we not walking down Pulev? How are we not walking down Usyk? Both men we know have no power in themselves. Fury did it against Wilder. He can't fight on the inside, and his chin's suspect, but his chin's no more suspect than Fury's, and he's definitely got more power than Fury. So what's AJ's excuse here? If Fury was able to pull it off, what are you thinking? Going in there with a cruiserweight. This is not acceptable at this point. It's not. I don't know who, I'm going to tell a lie. I was about to say I don't know who's around you, but we do know who's around you. A bunch of goofies. Your team's full of goofies, AJ. Truth be known. You've got a bunch of leeches and goofies and whatnot. Super fruity dons. That's who's around you. Facts. You ain't got no man who really see it for what it is. You got a bunch of dons who are just there to stroke you off, essentially. Rob Mccrappen, one of them. And he don't know what he's doing. It's one thing having dons who stroke you off and they know what they're doing. You got dons who stroke you off and ain't got a lick of a clue about nothing about boxing. 100%. I put to you, there's not one man in the whole of AJ's team who know a lick about boxing. That's a fact. And if you disagree, show me where. Show me, you say why be you lying? Look at this part. Show me what part shows you they know anything about boxing. Because all I see is basic, standard skills. I ain't seen nothing yet where I thought, wow, man, yeah, clearly AJ's being trained to a high level. Show me it. If you don't be mad, don't say names. Show me, tell me what skill it is. Because running around, disengaging, we can all do that. That's the first thing you learn in boxing. Oh, I'm scared. Let me run away now and back out. I can do that all day. No problem. That's not a skill. That's something you're supposed to with athletes like AJ. Yeah, that's something good trainers train out with you. You train out the urge to back out. You give them the skills to tuck up properly. Watch what's coming. If it's a hook, you're catching. If it's a straight shot, you're parrying. Walk into the shots. Like I showed on my video of Mayweather. When Mayweather's under pressure, high guard up, and he walks in, he falls into it. So people aren't teeing off on you. AJ ain't doing none of them things. When AJ's under pressure, he walking backwards and getting teed off on some more, lining himself up essentially. So again, if you disagree, show me the high level skills. Because in Rob Mccrappen's world and in Team AJ's world, high skills means dropping your hands and putting your chin in the air and dancing around. That's high skills. It's the cliche of skills. Oh look, he's got low hands. He must be skillful. You know what I mean? That cliche. That's what AJ be doing right now. Oh look at me. I've got low hands like Tyson Fury. Look, I'm really skillful. Please believe it. It's played out. Played all the way out right now. No doubt.